Good morning. You'll have to excuse me as I wipe the dust off of my stream setup. First with wine, I was just telling a friend that I have alcohol. I did make the mistake of not sorting out breakfast before starting stream, and I don't know if it's going to be particularly wise to drink on an empty stomach, but I'm sure it'll be fine. It's worth it. That's what maybe it was for. Good morning, everyone. Welcome in. All the powers that be conspired to, like, how dare you not have breakfast? I know. You can shame me for that. Sitting down to go live and my desk mic wouldn't work. My mom texted me, she's like, oh my goodness, we have Thanksgiving plans and I need you to RSVP in like 2 minutes. Oh, this is the worst possible time. Not like I have to go and publish a book. Oh man, I cannot even begin to describe how good it feels to have that that done. Oh man, I'm sure several of you have listened to me whine over over the course of the project, but I know I've said several times, wow, I'm never doing this again. This is so much work, and I am now going to proceed to do it again. Because book 2 is not going to write itself. Not now. I'm an author now. She's apparently going to do some sort of 5K run walk event that I've never heard of. I don't know why my mother decided to be adventurous this year. Did it morning drinks? Yes, I have mead, which I'm very excited to try. Have it here. It's been chilling. For Thanksgiving, it literally on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know. Apparently, I think it's some sort of fundraiser. I could not tell you. She sent me a link and told me to RSVP. It was one of those. It was one of those things where you know, you have these concerns with parents, right? I'm like, did you get hacked somehow into someone sending me strange links from your contact information? But no, apparently it's some fundraiser. I'll take a look at it. She's planning on raising the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Do you guys still watch the Thanksgiving Day Parade? That used to be like a tradition for us, as we would always, you know, be up early in the morning, have coffee, watch the parade. You know, that was always part of our morning routine. We don't do that too much anymore, but it's definitely one of those like nostalgic childhood things that I look back on fondly. I realize I've also been on my starting soon screen. Let me see here. I usually like to prepare some sort of artwork beforehand, before I start streaming, because the sketch process can be kind of boring to watch, as I just kind of argue with with my pencil about what I'm going to be drawing. But I didn't think of anything, so we'll see. And it's been ages since I've done any artwork streaming. Let's see here. I try to catch bits and pieces, but if someone's on Western, yep, Western time zone, yep. that's very much the way it is for us as well. Oh, I thought I deleted that. Well, okay, you can see I technically did start something. I also have a couple of just cute little idle games in case I just decide I want to chat instead of draw. I'm not particularly productive when I'm streaming and drawing. I take it back, everybody. I'm unpublishing the book and I'm going to republish it with this as the cover. It doesn't need anything else. This is perfect. We'll see. I have again just every power that be has conspired against me. I have an old tablet that is dying that randomly loses its pen sensitivity and wants me to restart the driver every single time. I have a desk mic that broke, so it won't hold itself upright, so I can't use it because I would have to physically hold the mic, and I can't draw and do that at the same time. I have, if you've been listening to me complain about doing the animatic, um, I this art program, which is Paint Tool Sci, which is what I prefer to draw in, I like how it feels. It no longer saves files. It won't actually save files as like exporting as a PNG. It just no longer does that. It just won't do it. So I have to save everything as a Photoshop document and then open it up in a different software, and then I can save it. It's just a whole. It's just. It's not a clown. It is the entire circus. That is how this is going. But that's okay. I can't find my pencil now. See, this is the kind of morning that I've had. Where's my pencil? Some duct tape. I'm gonna put that in the signed copies. I do plan on doing some doodles in the signed copies. I don't want them all to be the same, so you're gonna get a unique doodle of some kind. But there are going to be doodles. It's me. Of course, you're going to get a doodle in the signed copy. It's so on brand for me. Did I even sleep? No, I also did not sleep. I haven't slept in 3 days, Otter. I I also did not sleep. I tried to be good. I tried to go to bed um like a little bit early because I had been sleeping so poorly the past 2 days. So I tried to go to bed early. I tried to be responsible, and I didn't. I woke up about once every hour, once every 2 hours, which has become normal, unfortunately, over these past few days. And I didn't have bad dreams. I wouldn't call them bad, but I did have very strange dreams. I had, and I only remember bits and pieces, but I remember one of them was I had adopted like these two orange cats, like these two orange kittens, and I was just kind of running around with these like two like orange kittens held held in my hands. Like, what am I supposed to do with these? I don't know. It was that's the most of that dream. And I remember again, like I said, recalling it now, it wasn't a bad dream. But I remember in the dream being very concerned. I'm like, these kittens are my children. I need to take care of them. What am I going to do if I can't sort out what I need to do with these kittens? So it was very stressful for me in the dream. But of course, I wouldn't really call that a bad dream. It wasn't like a nightmare or anything like that. But it was apparently upsetting enough to wake me up. Because I woke up, I remember I would check. I went to bed again because I tried to be good. Because I haven't slept well. So I went to bed at 10 o'clock, maybe, and then I woke up at 11, and then I woke up at 12, then I woke up at 1, then I woke up at 3, then I woke up at 4, and I gave up at 5. Just like that, not a great sleeper. I had been doing okay, and then just suddenly it all went horribly wrong, and I no longer am sleeping well. I hope that it is a phase that passes, and I get some at least better sleep. I'm never someone who gets a good night's sleep, but some nights are better than others, and I would like to have a better night. Imagining Cyril frantically trying to figure out what the hell he's supposed to do with kittens. Listen, this poor man is stressed enough. This universe telling you to make Catman Cyril again. Yes, for those who don't know, Cyril has had many incarnations, and when I played Final Fantasy XIV, I had him as a Mikote in that game for a while, and he still holds a special place in my heart. That was a very fun iteration of him. My adult cats are still my children. Exactly. Oh, I have someone who's messaging me, and I need to respond. Okay, hold on one moment. Having the book out will hopefully help with. I do hope so. At the same time, the stress of the reviews, because I'm in that awkward in between stage where I don't have all of my advanced reviews in yet, so I need to be looking at the reviews for ARC reasons. I have to be checking and kind of tracking, which readers followed through and posted their reviews and which readers didn't, which means I do need to look at the reviews, which is always stressful. It's always stressful to look at the reviews. Once that period of time passes, I'll be trying my best not to look in the reviews, because I'm still expecting there to be, as I'm sure I've made this joke before, I had this dream like 3-4 weeks ago where someone had left a 2-star review because knights wear helmets, not berets. I'm still fully expecting that a review is going to come in saying that. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm still stressed out because I have to check the reviews, and that's never fun. I mean, it's fun when you get good reviews and people clearly connect with your work, but not everyone is going to, because books are so subjective. So a little bit stressful. Sammy, hello, welcome in. I found my pencil. I found it. It's we no longer have to look at. Well, we can keep him. He can hang out in the corner. Let's see here. We'll just let him hang out over there. Please sleep after the stream. I will do my best. I'm trying not to sleep during the day because, hello, yes, on top of doing the animatic and the book and getting all of that done, I still work a 9-to-5 job. And it is a job that requires presence of mind because I work in healthcare and I handle sensitive information, so I can't be half asleep while doing that while I can. I just need to not make mistakes. I need to be keeping to that sleep schedule because not being awake at certain times of the day just does not work when you need to be paying attention, unfortunately. As much as I would love to nap during the day, I try to avoid doing that because I don't want to screw up my sleep schedule too much. And I need to pull up my chat somewhere else. Hold on. I can tab out. Episode of Aang trying to fight the Fire Lord and he's not wearing pants. You're nowhere getting pants. I have a small handful of very kind reviews, so I'm grateful. I don't think that everyone is going to like it. But I'm very happy that it is connected with a few people, and especially the 5-star reviews have been very thoughtful, which I'm very grateful for as well. It's really quite nice to see people connecting with the work in such a way. Where I am trying to get a chat pop out so I can stop having to tap in. Just a little nap as a treat. Alas, no treats for me. I must try to sleep at a, I say reasonable time, reasonable for the work schedule that I have. Let's see. Okay. Pull up the chat here. I have to wait another 24 hours. The worst part. The worst part's definitely the waiting. And then there's me, who's been waiting, well, it's literally over 2 months now for my hardcover copy from the printer. A process that is only supposed to take 10 days, and I have been waiting 2 months. And customer service either doesn't respond or just tells me to mind my business, so sure, why not? That's fine. Now I know. I genuinely did not expect Amazon to be the more pleasant printer to work with, and yet here we are. Okay, let's see. I have you guys pulled up on my phone, so let's see. What am I thinking? I was thinking of doing something with Cyril and Adra, and if you don't know, Adra is Cyril's horse. Yeah, I can draw horses the way I. This is good. It's only funny to me, so excuse my laughter. But recently, because my parents are, bless their hearts, they're very sentimental and they're very supportive, which is incredibly kind of them. They, now that I've published a book, they're very excited, they're congratulating me, etc. And my mom, again, because she's very sentimental, she came up to me with like one of my old textbooks, and I say textbook, but I'm using that word generously. It was, I believe, like a writing, like teach little kids how to write handbook, like think like kindergarten or first grade if you're in the U.S. So about 5-6 years old, a book for a very young child. And I had written some story like in the in I'm not sure what it would be called, in like the very front pages, those first few front pages of the book that are blank. I had written some story in there, and I had drawn a horse. And again, I was like 6 years old or something, and this is how I drew a horse in my little book. So here we go. Here's Adra and Cyril. This is the quality of art that I'm offering you this fine morning. I ordered mine through a small local shop, and I'm really glad to support them, but the shipping wait, oh man. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for ordering, and thank you for supporting your local bookstore. I went through a lot of trouble to make sure that it was available to smaller stores and to libraries and things like that. So I'm really glad that you're able to support them that way. Thank you very much. It's a horse. Hey, listen, by the loosest possible definition, that is a horse. But let's see. I have a loose idea. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pull it off. Horses are difficult to draw, and I like making my life difficult, so let's see. I will try to do a sketch of some kind, and we'll see if I am able to get it to work. If you saw my story on Instagram, I think I only posted it to Instagram. It is totally hit or miss whether something that is on Instagram makes it to like Twitter or, well, Blue Sky now, because apparently Twitter is imploding again. But I just sketched out, I believe it was Domingo, and I sketched out him with his horse, and I just kind of angrily wrote the word horse over top of it because I didn't feel like drawing the horse. Because horses are complicated. Looks like the kind of horse I'm drawing now. So just drawing horses is impossible. Artists that have worked with Netflix, published games, and beyond to say drawing horses are impossible. When is Twitter not exploding? An excellent question. Ever since he who should not be named took over. Horses are actually pretty much the first thing, first animal, first everything that I learned to draw. I grew up with horses, so it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I saw them all the time. And when your mom is, doing her horse stuff that you're too young to participate in safely, you just kind of sit there and you sketch lots of horses. Let's see, I have to try and remember how a horse works again. Hold on. Because I already don't like this. Let's see. I think it's this. Doesn't feel correct. This is a great time to say you should be using references. I'm trying to draw this purely from memory, so I'm probably getting the gait wrong, but we'll see. And she doesn't hold her head up quite that high. I feel like I should try to draw a horse. Can't draw animals. You have to at least be able to draw an otter. I feel like that's a requirement. Publish a book on how to draw horses next. If you wanted a step-by-step guide of how to draw horses, I probably could do that. Just because I've drawn them so much. And I do usually, and I do this in general, not just with horses, but in general, in pretty much all of my art, there is a certain element of stylization, so I usually will embellish and exaggerate certain features that I want to. So they're not going to be the most realistic horses, but it's probably going to be recognizable as a horse. Like solid 85% chance you're going to be able to recognize it as a horse. So proud of my flamingo that I painted, as you should be. Otter, you now have to draw an otter. You are legally required. Let's see. So that's a decent base. I'm not sure if I like it, but I could work with it. I feel like her neck is too high. She doesn't usually hold her head up that high. Major usually has her head down, and that's usually because she's trying to bite people. Because she is mean. Yes, good. Draw an otter and then share it. I require. I would like to see the baby. Alright, let's see here. Does an otter mix the Chinese dragon count? Yes. You have my seal of approval. Go forth. I'm trying to. Cyril also uses a particular style of saddle that exists in real life, but it's not the style of saddle that I used to ride on, so it's hard to draw it from memory. If I was a good artist, I would just go look up references, but I'm not going to do that. Horse, yes, horse. Welcome in. Good morning, or good afternoon. True, good time zone to everyone from wherever you are watching. It is morning for me. I am PST. I also probably shouldn't be drawing Cyril's horse tack from memory because I have a design for it. Whatever. I'm I'm trying to be nice to myself this morning, and I am not going to get really particular or be a stickler about details because I'm just trying to relax. So we're gonna chill, and that's me yelling at myself that I'm going to chill today. She has little braids in her hair, which are very cute. Her hair is actually quite long, so she ends up with nice sized braids. And that's just so Cyril doesn't get whipped in the face whenever he's riding her. Did I give her a chaperon? I think... No, I didn't. I gave her a bridle. Hold on. That much I do remember. I know she has double reins. And then she has shoes. But she doesn't have any boots of any kind. It's literally just shoes. Hold on, where's my water? I think it's reasonable. Now I have to remember how the scale is between them, because she's a pretty big horse. Cyril's also a pretty big guy, so I'm trying to imagine. Oops, I bumped my mic. Vaguely yay high. We'll call that good enough. I already drew Cyril to scale in the corner. Yes, of course. Oops. I didn't think about like what Cyril was doing. I guess he Is he using magic? Is he just chilling? I don't know. Whatever. In case you were wondering, yes, my sketches are always this messy, and yes, I sort of, kind of can make sense of them. Let's say that Cyril's going to be looking that direction for no particular reason. That means I have to draw his hat. His hat's a pain to draw. That's okay. That is Cyril's default state. Just ever-present judgment. Because his feet should tip a little bit below her body, yeah. You cry. I'm just kidding. Your line work is always immaculate, Otter. Like every single time you draw, I'm like, oh, the lines are so clean. I could never. It's beautiful and impressive. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I should probably clean it up now. Let's see. I'll start with just her. Oh, she should have fluffy feet. Hold on. I didn't take this into account. She has fluffy feet. There's a child screaming outside my window. What is going on? They're having fun. It's Saturday. I'm sure someone's got their kids out playing or whatever they're doing. We have a fair amount of kids in our neighborhood. Do you guys get trick-or-treaters where you are? Do you even do trick-or-treating? I feel like trick-or-treating is a pretty American thing. I have some international friends who say they don't even do anything for Halloween. We're usually the house that the kids get really lucky because we have those like full-size candy bars, which I'm sure the parents love when the kids get those sugar rushes, but we usually have like some of the bigger like full-size candy bars here. It's slowly getting more popular. Do not have trick-or-treaters here. We had a ton at our old place. Interesting. Yeah, my parents, the neighborhood that they live in, uh, no, absolutely no trick-or-treaters. And they've lived there pretty much my whole life. Like the good last 20 years or so that they've lived there. And we never had, there just weren't really very many kids in that neighborhood, so no trick-or-treaters. We always went somewhere else when my sister and I were trick-or-treating as kids. As an adult, the best part of trick-or-treating is the half-off candy after it's over. I'm not really a huge candy person, but my nostalgic childhood treat of choice is the Twix candy bar. That is my favorite. That is my go-to. Because that was the one I always liked as a kid. Never got to go trick-or-treating. Oh, that's a shame. I remember we did trick-or-treating a fair few years. I was obviously very young at the time, but I'm pretty sure we did it, for like a good 3, 4 years in a row. Feathers are a little bit too long. Cyril wouldn't let them get that long. I mean, he'd make it someone else's problem, but he wouldn't let them get that long. Cyril's a little bit of a neat freak. Oh, they do be screaming out there. My goodness. Oh, I guess I should save this. Just tried to save it. Alright, let's see here. The very helpfully named Ager-Doodle. That's what I'll call it. Twix is my fave. Excellent choice. Very good, very good. You two have excellent taste. Only in the school I work at, we're going to sing songs, arrange parties, that sort of thing. It's supposed to be fun for the kids. You sound so excited. I think a lot of churches will do like Halloween parties for kids. The area that I live in, like if you were to leave my neighborhood and kind of head towards the main road, it's so weird. It's on one side of the road you would turn into go into the neighborhood itself, so that's how you would go to get to the houses. And on the other side, you have just a row of like church after church after church after church, and they're all different. Like we have, I think there's like a Protestant church, and then like right after that there is, and I forget the term for them, but a Jewish church, synagogue, that's the word. There's a Jewish synagogue, and then right after that we have like, I believe it's an Armenian church, and then after that we have a Russian church. It's this row of churches, they're all right next to each other, and they all do something. We have a Mormon church on the same street, they're right next to each other, and they all always do something for every holiday, but especially for Halloween. Did I accidentally create 2 layers? I might have. Yes, I did. Okay, this one. I'm not sure if her mouth is going to be open or not. We'll see. Plenty of trunk or treat. That's what they're called, trunk or treat, because they'll they'll usually like do some sort of decoration in their trunk, in the trunk of their car, and the kids will, like, instead of going door to door, they'll go from car to car. But yeah, that's that. I have memories of those as well from when I was quite young. About to have a battle with the printer. Very fun, very fun. It's yeah. I'm having a different battle with a different printer, but I understand the same the same pain. Okay, let's see. I don't know if her mouth is gonna be open. Because she's got some teeth. She's got some chompers on her. I think I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's a lot of material that I cut from book one just because it wasn't important enough. We didn't really have time. The book is long enough as it is, and I really went to a lot of effort to try to make it kind of as streamlined as possible, which is in general the point of editing when you're editing a book. Um, but because of that, there was material that had to be cut, and a lot of it will probably be repurposed for book two, or later books. I don't know how many books this thing is going to be until it's finished. Um, but there was material that had to be cut from book one just because we didn't have time. I was trying to streamline things, etc., etc. And one of those was just a couple of scenes with Cyril and Adra, and or people who are involved in Adra's care, because obviously Cyril is a big fancy man who doesn't have to take care of her himself anymore. He used to, but now that he's Archbishop, he has a bunch of servants who do everything for him. And Adra is mean, so she bullies the people who take care of her. Some fun little lore that unfortunately did not make it into the final book. But who knows? Maybe we'll revisit it later, and you'll get to meet the staple hand that she keeps biting because she doesn't like him. Adra doesn't like anybody. She tolerates Cyril, but she doesn't really like anybody. I take that back. She does like Cyril, but her version of liking somebody is really just tolerating. But don't tell Cyril that. Actually, she's supposed to have a very rounded face, so that's not gonna work. Munching fingers. If you get them too close. There was a really cute scene, and I know I actually sent kind of a screenshot, like a little snippet of it, to a couple of people while I was working on the book. It was a really cute scene, and I'm really sad that it had to be cut, but unfortunately it did. Maybe Adra doesn't get enough treats and pets. Maybe this is her way of rebelling. She doesn't get enough love. We love a lady who knows what she wants. She have her ears forward. I don't know. I don't know if she would. Probably not. She probably has her ears pinned back most of the time. Oh, I don't think you guys can see my layers. No, you can't. Okay, you can only see the canvas. You don't get to see my horrible, horrible layer organization, or lack thereof. I know the last time I streamed art was back on Twitch, which was ages and ages ago. I debated whether today's stream would be here on YouTube or over on Twitch. I like the idea of keeping art streams and art in general kind of here on YouTube. I enjoy streaming, and I enjoy streaming games. Gaming is a hobby that I do not have time for, especially if I'm going to be doing more artwork and more animatics, which I don't know about the animatics, but I'll circle back to talk about that later. But I decided that I would try streaming here on YouTube. And I don't know, we'll see how it goes. It's the same setup, and streaming is just streaming no matter kind of where you're doing it, but I don't know, I like the idea of having the artwork here, and I just don't have time, you know, with a full-time job and also trying to publish and write the books in the first place. You have to write them before you can publish them. It's just a whole lot of stuff. There's just not enough hours in the day for me to do everything that I want, so I have to pick and choose. Oh, no more custom brushes. I am a bad artist, and I don't use any custom brushes. I only use the default airbrush. I should change that, and I know I should, but I just am in such a habit of doing what's comfortable. I think I talked about this a bit ago. I forget where it was. It was on Twitter, maybe on Threads. I don't know. There's so many social medias, and it's so hard to maintain all of them, or even remember. But I was feeling frustrated because I burned out really, really bad while working on both the book and the animatic at the same time. It was a ton of work, just an obscene amount of work, and especially I don't think it would have been as bad if I... Ooh, can I copy paste this? Can I be lazy? I kind of want to be lazy. Hold on. Hold that thought. I love being lazy when I can. Okay. Anyways, as I was saying, I don't think it would have been as bad if my normal 9-to-5 job, you know, which is the one that pays the bills and the one that pays for the extremely expensive publishing of a book, because it is extremely expensive. Like, I do this as a hobby because I love it, not because I'm making any kind of profit whatsoever. I'm not even going to break even on my book. There's no way. That's never going to happen. Whoops. And I definitely burned out really, really bad working on kind of both the animatic and the book at the same time. And it's frustrating because I really, really enjoy both. I'm trying to think of how braids work. I really enjoy both, but both require huge amounts of creative energy to do. That doesn't look right. I really should just look up a reference for how... I'm trying to remember how I used to tie these. And because you gather up the hair into like a little bunch, and then you braid it, and then you roll that braid up, and then you sew it in place. And I'm trying to remember how this goes. But yes, I burned out really, really bad, which is really frustrating. And part of it was thinking that like maybe I should stop being lazy and I should try to work on using like different brushes and things like that, things that might make the drawing process easier. But it's really hard to devote that kind of time to kind of. It's not entirely starting from scratch and kind of learning from the ground up, but it does feel a little bit like that. So it feels like a really big commitment. And when I'm trying to, work on writing the book, which takes, an incredible amount of time, and there's definitely an element of you don't want to leave people waiting for too long because they'll get frustrated and they'll leave. So you kind of have to, choose what you're going to prioritize because you also have to like kind of maintain your audience, especially if you want to have, any hope of, which again, I'm not going to break even on my work and I'm okay with that. But in general, having like can you hear me now? I think my headset died. I just had to restart it. Let me know if you can hear me. I can see my little audio bar lighting up now. So it looks like it's working, but we'll see. Yeah, okay, good. Awesome. Well, I'm not sure how long I was talking to Error, but my point was that it's very, very hard to break even on books because they're very expensive to produce and you don't earn a whole lot per sale. But that's okay because if you know anything about me, I have a very, very, very expensive hobby and I just treat writing and publishing like another very expensive hobby. And I do it because I love it, and I will continue to do it as long as I can afford it. At least as long as I can afford it to the level of quality that I hold myself to, which I am very, very hard on myself in terms of the quality of my work. And I hope that comes across in the final product. Um, but yeah, it means that it is quite expensive. Okay, so let's see. Let's jump here, braid. Oh, now she's got cute little braids. There's my water. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't post the link to the stream on Twitter. I always forget Twitter. Is anyone still using Twitter? I guess I should post it there. Let me do that real quick. I feel like I have a hiccup stuck in my throat. It's absolutely killing me. Just struggle more with the back legs than I do the front. Let's see if I can get these looking right. Without a reference, I really should have a reference, but I think I need to bring it. neck just cracked. Sorry. I don't know if you heard that. Sounded like a sleeve of crackers. Ugh. You did. No. Oh man. I think it's because I sleep on my left side. And if I bend my neck a certain way after waking up, oh man. It's okay. Everything's fine. My head is still attached. Uh, I can't see. Okay. I think I'm going to pour myself some drink. Hold on. I want to sip something. This one is a little bit easier because it's extended. Unfortunately for everybody, I don't think you can see our chestnuts. Some people get really grossed out by those. Gente, solar knees into a song. I need to, I don't know, take up yoga. Maybe that'll get some of the stress out and I will finally be able to sleep. Probably not. Sticker because she is a draft or so she was pretty. also, yes, hi, this is why I don't stream art a whole lot, because it's 95% just me talking to myself. Let's see. I'm drawing this fairly straight, but she technically has kind of curly hair. Well, not curly. Wavy is probably a better word. We'll add the wave in there. Q&A. I am open to a Q&A. But my art productivity is probably going to plummet. But by all means. I do also have Tiny Glade in reserve for if we just want to chill. I came with backup options in case I found myself completely incapable of drawing today, which was a possibility when I'm as burnt out as I have been. uh, but she's actually coming out pretty nice. I'm actually pretty happy with how Adra's coming out. I don't know if I'd be happy with how Cyril's coming out. It doesn't really exist yet, but Cyril gets preferential treatment a lot because he's the favorite character. So he doesn't have to be drawn today. He's got a whole book dedicated to him. He doesn't need to be spoiled anymore this morning. But also I enjoy drawing him, so odds are I probably will draw him anyways. Who was hardest to write when I get Cyril ASMR audiobook? Listen, if I found a voice actor, I would pay an obscene amount of money. To the point that I probably couldn't afford it, but I could daydream. Who was hardest to write? That's a good question. I think I answered in the original Q&A that Cyril was very difficult to work with for a very particular part of kind of the plot and trying to reconcile his character with the priest storyline, which, if you know me, or if you know my work, you know that Cyril didn't start out as a priest, so that was very difficult. But Cyril wasn't actually super difficult to write because I know him so well. So he came very naturally to me. It was the hardest. In a lot of ways, I'd say Bronte was probably the hardest. And that's mostly because, again, kind of like what I mentioned, Cyril, I've known Cyril for a long time. I've been writing Cyril for a long time, so he comes very naturally to me. And kind of as I mentioned, in the same way that Cyril already existed before this project, most of the other characters also existed before this project. A lot of them are just kind of recontextualized in the same way that Cyril is recontextualized in order to fit into this story. So they're characters that I already know, that I've already worked with, that I've already written. So a lot of them came very naturally, with the exception of Bronte, who is entirely unique to this story. She did not exist before the story, and the story is really about her in a lot of ways. Even though Cyril technically kind of takes the place of the main, he is the main character. Because it's Cyril. Of course, he elbowed his way into the main character position. But Bronte is a huge part of the story, a huge driving piece of it. And she was very difficult for me because not only was she a new character, so I had to get to know her and become familiar with her in the same way that I was the other characters. She didn't have that same advantage, but also she is probably what I would consider to be my only good, quote-unquote, good aligned character. There are other characters that I would consider similar in alignment, but Bronte is good in the way that she would feel bad if she killed a bug, which is different from a lot of the other characters. Because there are definitely characters who are kind and friendly and thoughtful, but who won't necessarily think twice if they need to do something that is a bit more difficult in order, to like do the right thing or whatever it might be, versus Bronte, who would genuinely struggle with that decision. She would have a really, really hard time with that. And so I was trying to balance that, her being this kind of newer character, and also her being someone who is very kind and would really struggle with some of the harder decisions. I needed to make sure that she didn't come across as being like sugary sweet, because it would be very easy for that to be the case, and that was kind of what I was trying to avoid. So yeah, Bronte was the hardest. Cyril gave me trouble in one very specific area that if I explain the trouble that he gave me, it would spoil a part of the book, so I can't talk about it. Unless you finish the book, in which case, if you finish the book, come send a carrier pigeon or a magic owl, and I will tell you the story of how difficult Cyril was. If I could do an audiobook, I would in a heartbeat, but they are extremely expensive to produce. But yeah, I don't know. If the book as it currently exists sells well enough, I might be able to pitch it to like companies that create audiobooks rather than having to do it like all from scratch myself, which would be a huge undertaking and again extremely expensive. But if the book sells well enough that a company might be interested, then that could be something that I possibly pursue. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, it is on my list. I've had a lot of people ask about audiobooks, and I've had several people kind of ask about possible translations. Both of those are extremely expensive and difficult to do, but I am taking note of those requests so that, if for some reason that is something that I'm able to do, then I know kind of what some of my first choices are. Congrats on the launch. Thank you so much, Mitra. I really appreciate it. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Miss Madoc. uh, Madoc is supposed to have a brogue, and I don't think there is any way I could possibly impersonate that. As people constantly tell me, I apparently have a very obvious Californian accent, which I don't think exists, but apparently it does, because people always tell me that I sound that way. Oh, thank you, Vitra. Thank you so much. I really hope you enjoy. I am selfishly and very impatiently waiting for people to read so that they can yell. They can come yell at me about things. Yeah, I will look forward to it. As someone that lived away from the state for 20 years, it sure is a thing. Interesting. I've lived out of state, but I guess for not a particularly long amount of time. Like if you told me, for example, a New York accent, which there are many New York accents, but told me like a New York accent or a Southern accent or like a Texan accent, I would be like, okay, yeah, understandable. I can imagine what that sounds like in my mind. But if you say Californian accent, I don't know what that means. Apparently, it's how I talk, but I wouldn't know. I don't know. I feel like a quote-unquote Californian accent is just a typical American accent that isn't hyper-specific. Because, like I said, like Texan or certain areas of New York, like a Brooklyn accent, they're very, very unique, and you can really, really place them. Versus, in my mind, a Californian accent is just nothing. I don't know if I will die on this hill. Except I probably won't, because there are better hills to die on. Out here Texan or New Yorker, the rest is just default American. See, if you said like a surfer bro accent, then that I would understand. But California is huge. California is just a massive place. It's just like how in New York you get lots of different New York accents. Like a Brooklyn accent is unique, etc., etc. So I don't know. I don't think there is a quote-unquote Californian accent. I just think of it as like the absence of other accents.
That's how I feel speaking in Swedish. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be hard pressed to hear an accent, especially in a different language. I grew up in the South and think, baby Jesus, I don't have a Southern twang. I sound very NorCal. Interesting. That's fascinating. I don't know. You're not the first person to say so, so I'm assuming that some amount of what you're saying is correct. But I haven't the slightest idea. It just I don't know. It just sounds. I don't want to say normal because that isn't the right word, but again, it just sounds like the absence of other sounds. I don't know. Go figure. I have to remember. I'm gonna try and do this from memory, but I have to remember where each scars are because I know I made a chart somewhere of all of her stars, but I'm gonna have to do my best to remember where they are. Even such a tiny country, but we have so many dialects. Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, so do you have dialects in English, or do you have like in your accent, like when you speak English, or do you have dialects like in Dutch? Because I know English is spoken quite a lot there as well. In Dutch, interesting. That's surprising considering how tiny the country is. I think we've compared it several times. Something like how many times over can the Netherlands fit inside California? When they try to speak English, they'll probably have an extra dialect on top of it. Yeah, like 8 times. Oh, it's that's crazy. You start having an appreciation for just how absurdly humongous America is as you grow older. Is that fully kicked? Nope. Yeah, it's not. See, this is what I'm saying. I keep telling Babel that her English is excellent. She never agrees with me. Yeah, isn't it? I so wish that our school system did a better job of second language education because the rest of the world speaks two languages. They'll speak their native language and English. And yet here we are in America and we only really reliably speak English. Like I took 3 years of Spanish and none of it was helpful. I could maybe skate by in in conversation in Spanish, barely, just barely. And it angers me. I really I really wish that we had better second language education here. I really,
You too. Oh well.
Yeah, Babel gets lots of practice. Her husband is British.
Took 5 years of German. You speak fluent. All gone. 3 of French. 2 of Italian. Gone. You have some. You still have so much more education though, and I envy that. I don't know how to say I don't like the monster in the cake, and that's all it took from French. I
I'm slightly better at sign language. I can hold a decent conversation in sign language, but I can only do so in signed English, not in ASL, which is a shame. But it's enough to communicate, and I can fingerspell, which is reasonable. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things. And part of it is you don't often have too much of a reason to use it in the US, which is why you don't get to practice as much. Because a huge part of any language is your regular reputation, your regular repetition of using it. And we just, I don't know. At least in my local area, I don't have a whole lot of places to go. Even when I would try to learn Spanish, and I was learning Spanish, or we had a lot of Japanese exchange students. We used to have exchange students that lived with us, and every single time be like, "Oh, let's do some language practice," and all they would want to do is practice their English. They wouldn't want to help me practice their language. They always wanted me to help them with practicing English. So
I was known for awkward and singing it to not converse. So that's like somehow even more impressive.
okay, let's see. I'm not sure if I like her tail. I might change her tail. I've already changed it like 3 times, and I might change her tail. I don't know. She's got a cute wavy tail though. It's cute until it whips you as it goes by.
Singing in French is horrible. Singing in German is great.
Oh man, I don't think Maury is in the chat. She popped in earlier and said hi, but I was just when I was doing the countdown portraits for book launch, I was going through my playlist, excuse me, I was going through my playlists for different characters that I have, and I was looking for a song for Domingo, and I have lots of music for him that I really, really enjoyed. But but none of them had lyrics. So I was like, what am I gonna use for Domingo? Because I really need something. It needs to have lyrics. And I ended up just using a poem instead, or I think it's an excerpt from a play, but whatever. It was in a book of poetry, so I'm gonna call it a poem. I ended up using a poem for him instead, and that was after I took one of the songs that I had for him that was sung in French, and I took it and I was like, I really want to figure out what the lyrics are because if they're good, I'll use them because I have no idea what these people are saying. And it was some musical piece, so when you're dealing with musicals, one of the things that can happen is the lyrics will be hyper specific to like whatever the musical is about. Like in Hunchback of Notre Dame. And yes, I'm gonna fall back on that classic because I love it. You have very specific songs about like Quasimodo or Esmeralda or something that is extremely specific. So it doesn't really carry over to kind of using it in a more generic sense for like your own character. So I didn't want to use it without knowing what the lyrics were. And it just the absolute nightmare that I went through trying to find the lyrics for this French musical. I was trying so hard, and the company that produces it didn't post the lyrics anywhere. They were very clearly very, very protective of their material, so they just didn't post the lyrics anywhere. And I was going through all of these forums and videos, and like there's like a huge like fan website because they're a musical production company, so they're fans of their work. And it's beautiful work. I went and I found some like trailers for the show, etc., etc. It's all beautifully done, and it's like one of the top comments in French because I had to translate all of this. One of the top comments on like the video for the song that I was looking for in French was, "Man, I really wish they'd post the lyrics." I was like, yeah, me too. And it was a comment from like 5 years ago. The show has long since been discontinued and they've moved on to new shows. And I'm trying desperately to find these stupid lyrics. And finally, I find like in this little corner of the internet, someone has made a sing-along video with the lyrics, but they titled it a different song, but it is actually the song that I needed. And so after, it took me like 45 minutes to an hour of like looking through all of their music, trying so desperately to find it. And when I finally, and I have a point I'm circling back to this for, and now that I finally found the lyrics in French and I translated them to English, the lyrics are really stupid. It was singing in French. It just wasn't that good. When you don't speak French, it sounds cool, but as soon as you translate it, it doesn't actually sound that great. So, anyways, I used a poem instead. That was my adventure trying to make Domingo's portrait. Why do I do these things to myself? Okay, I need to do her little feet now. After all the time that I spent, it wasn't even good. It was literally the choir. What are they called? Ensemble, whatever. Uh, it was chorus. That's the word that I was looking for. Chorus. It was just the whole chorus basically repeating the same thing like over and over again, but slightly different. And it didn't. If you translated it to English, it just didn't sound good, good at all. Anyways, first comment about not singing in French or singing in French not being as good as German. That just made me think of it. These are the behind the scenes struggles that I go through that you guys don't see. It really wasn't my day. It really wasn't. Uh, Everything's fine. It's fine. I got all the portraits done. I got the animatic done. I don't want to talk about the animatic, but I'm going to anyway. The animatic, I literally did not all the drawings because I had the material, a lot of it, but some of the drawings and all of the editing for the animatic was done in a single day. And I still don't know how I managed that, and I probably will never be able to do something like that again. But oh man, I am exhausted with a capital E. Exhausted in a good way, but exhausted.
It's just how you pronounce the language when singing. Okay, really. I don't like it. German was easier for me.
German is a really interesting language. I haven't met too many people who speak German. My dad speaks French, English, and Greek. The Greek was probably obvious. My grandma speaks a little bit of German because her late husband was German. And my grandpa, I believe he still speaks a little bit of Russian, but his new wife isn't Russian, so they don't really, he doesn't have any need to talk it. Oh my goodness, doesn't have any need to speak it anymore. Okay, she's coming. She's coming along. I'm reasonably happy with her. Let's see. So that's the hair. Adjust these bits. What time is it? Let me check.
45.
Wow, it's already 11:45. Okay. I'll probably see how much of this I can finish in about 15 minutes. And then I will do a drawing for the free signed copy. 'Cause I do want to have that today. Aha, I did not merge those because I'm full. Okay, there we go. Any news on the hardcovers? Well, let me check the shipping estimate that the printer gave me. And I'm guessing it's probably just going to say nothing, because that's what it's said for the past 2 months. Uh, Basically, the way that this works is I have already submitted all of the files, all of the artwork, all of the everything, absolutely everything. I've submitted everything that they need to print the book. The only thing that they have failed to do is to actually print it and send it to me so that I can make sure everything is correct. Make sure that there's no errors, make sure that the print isn't somehow misaligned, etc., etc. Because it's very hard to judge those things online through a virtual proof. You really need to hold the physical item in your hand, and that's what I want to do, because I don't want to send it out to people or approve it for sale until I've actually physically held it in my hand and I've signed off and said, yes, okay, this is acceptable, it's up to my standards, I'm okay with people buying this. And in the time that it has taken, I'm a writer, I know how English works, and the time that it has taken to not even have the book in my hands, I have already gone through this whole stage of giving the files, giving the artwork, formatting the cover, formatting the manuscript, getting the ISBN assigned, creating the barcode, putting the barcode on the book, submitting the files, just absolutely everything that you need to do. In the time that it took me to do all of that for Amazon, I have gone through that process something like 4 times with Amazon, and I've gotten 4 different proof copies back from Amazon to make sure that it's all correct. And in all of that time, Ingram has not gotten a single book to me, and I'm mad about it. it's not the end of the world. Now I know that they take a long time, so I can plan accordingly. But yeah, I'm very very annoyed with them. Ting, hello, welcome in. It's so good to see you. How are you today? We're just talking about the hardcover. I have a question. You literally already finished. Oh my goodness, you are a quick reader. My heart is very full. Thank you so much. Yeah, so there's three versions of the book right now that you can get. You can get the paperback from Amazon. You can get the hardcover also from Amazon, which does not come with a dust jacket. I made it an option because I wanted people who like hardcovers to have something that's a little bit cheaper, a little bit more budget friendly. So it's $10 cheaper, and there's no dust jacket. That's also from Amazon. There's the paperback that is the Ingram, which is the version that will go into like physical bookstores, or if you purchase it from like your local bookstore, that's the version you'll get. That's the version you are getting, excuse me. That one is a little bit more expensive because the bookstore set the price for that. So it's slightly more expensive, but it's the same as the Amazon, both paperbacks. Then there's the Dust Jacket hardcover, which is all ready to go. It's fully in the system. It is completely ready for sale, but I have not enabled distribution yet because I need to have the physical object in my hands before I sign off on it, because I'm not willing to sign off on sending that book out until I hold it in my hands and I guarantee that it is correct, because I don't want people to waste their money on something that wasn't printed correctly. So it takes a little bit longer. I do apologize for that, but hopefully it'll be here soon. Cynthia, welcome in. Good to see you. Ting, what is your question? You have me on the edge of my seat. Assuming no spoilers as well, because we do have folks in here who haven't read yet. Let's see. Where's her tail? You did a great job with the characters. Thank you so much. First I was introduced to Cyril. I was okay, where's the schmuck? He seems like a nice man. That makes me so happy to hear. That's exactly the reading process that I wanted, is for you to meet Cyril, to kind of wonder, and then at the ending you kind of find out. And oh, that makes me so happy. Thank you so much. Can't wait to read the book. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy. I hope it arrives soon, and I hope you enjoy. The ending, so the ending is meant to be a little bit confusing. There's lots of questions that are not answered by on purpose at the end of book one, because you're going to spend book two kind of unraveling what the hell's going on. So book one was really about introducing you to the world and introducing you to Cyril, so you kind of know who you're dealing with. And then book two is going to kind of dive into answering some of the unanswered questions. At least that's the intention. Yes, of course. Thank you so much for reading. I'm thrilled you enjoyed it. And by all means, if you have your own theories about answering those questions, I welcome that. Because I wanted the book to be something that people could wonder and kind of theorize about, if that's something you enjoy doing. I know it's something I like doing when I read books. Explain Cyril's niceness as he loves what he loves. Do not seem angry for the things he loves. Hmm. Well, book 2 involves a culmination of the relationship with Bronte and Cyril, the one that shows how the Hellfire. So the Hellfire animatic. Hmm. I don't believe that's going to be in book 2. I am still trying to figure out kind of how I want to pace the story. Because I know the whole story. The whole story is already written. I already have it from beginning to end. And one of the important things to me is that I don't rush it. So I'm thinking Hellfire and the events of Hellfire are probably going to be book 3 territory. That's probably the plan, because Hellfire is not the end of the story, but it is towards the end of the story. It's definitely past the halfway mark of kind of their relationship together, because it needs to hurt more. Not the hardcover, but I don't know if the book will come to my country. Oh no. I can't say for sure. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that it's available internationally. But if you're looking for a signed copy, international shipping is extremely expensive. So I am going to be trying to make some book plates available. So that'll just be something, a letter that I can send, and you just attach it to your own copy of the book. So if you're able to get one of those hardcover copies locally from your country and you want it signed, you can request a book plate from me, and I'll make sure that we can get that signature to you. I say we. It's the royal we. I'm a one man show here. I do everything myself.
Might not be able to say, but does Bronte and or Cyril die at the end? Will immolation end in a tragedy?
That's a good question. I think I would classify the ending of the story as bittersweet. I don't think I would call it a tragedy, but it's not a happily ever after either. I would classify it as bittersweet. And once you get to the end of the series and you read it, you can tell me if I was right or wrong to classify it as bittersweet. low-key hoping that Cyril and Bronte end up together. I'm pretty sure that's not going to. Listen, for someone who has said repeatedly that he is not writing a romance novel, I sure do want them to end together. I shout it from the rooftops that this isn't a romance novel, but also I kind of shove them together. Like, now kiss. Suffering is the candy of our existence. It's gotta be angsty. It makes it more exciting. I feel like they kind of might not do her now, honestly. It's funny when I was, which if you've read the first book, you'll know this, but when I was researching advanced review readers, who are readers that are going to go through the book and read it before it goes live so that they can leave a review, etc., etc., I had a form that I asked each of those readers to fill out, and one of the questions was, what's something that you're looking forward to, kind of based off of the synopsis of the book and kind of the vibes that you get. What are you looking forward to about the book, about reading it? And I had someone who responded with a happily ever after. I just kind of quietly said, "This isn't the right book for you. I'm so sorry." Not that there's no happiness, but it is bittersweet. I would call it bittersweet. Well, the series overall. I can't say for sure about book one. I'm trying to.
Thank you, Ting. Art is very good.
How did you learn? Thank you very much. I am self-taught. I'm self-taught in terms of digital art. I did. I've been drawing from a very young age. Kind of earlier in the stream, I was talking about. Oh, if you haven't seen my stick, Cyril, there he is. I was talking a little bit earlier in the stream of how I've been kind of doodling and sketching from a very young age. So I have a little bit of knowledge from that, and I had a couple of years of kind of, very classical, traditional art education. Things like where you'd have a nude model and you would sketch them, you do anatomy, things like still life, like oil painting, kind of those very traditional art classes. I had a little bit of that. But when it comes to digital art, I am entirely self-taught. I was gifted a tablet, I was gifted a copy of Paint Tool Sci, which is what I still use, and pretty much like everything, I just start. I just kind of dive in and start and learn as I go. Whether I would recommend that or not is going to depend on your kind of learning style and what you like to do. I do think there are a lot of the lessons that I learned from the original kind of classical art classes that I took that carried over. A lot of it did not carry over at all. For example, I have a very cheap old tablet. There's no screen on my tablet, is what I mean. So I have to look up at the monitor while my hand is down in front of me drawing. And coming from traditional art, where your hand and your eye are in the same location, that was very, very difficult for me. That was a huge learning curve. There were lots of little things like that I had to adjust to, but beyond that, actually, I would say for where I was at with traditional art and the level of work that I was doing, I've been drawing digitally for about 10 years, maybe a little bit less. I'm not sure. About 10 years. It has probably taken me this long to get back to where I used to be with traditional art. I was much better at traditional art, and then I kind of had to start from scratch and adjust to that learning curve. Thank you. That's really kind of you. I enjoy digital art. I enjoy it quite a lot. I have considered whether or not I would try to do something like digital painting, if that's kind of the style I'd like to pursue. Because when I was doing traditional art, at least the work that I was doing, was not it was not about having an art style. It was about making things as photorealistic as possible to go into an art gallery in a competition. That was the drive. So with digital art, you have a lot more, and you have this with traditional art as well. But coming to digital art, there was a lot more room for experimentation and kind of a unique style to develop. So yeah, I'm enjoying kind of playing around with things. I'm not sure if I would try to perhaps go the digital painting route, or if I would try to do something more stylized, or if I'm going to maintain this style. I'm not sure. There's lots of possibilities, and I enjoy that. Who says you have to stick to one art style? That's true. I mean, I can always play around with different things. I do like my limited palette, my kind of grayscale, and usually there's one color, usually it's gold, but I do like that, and I think I'll keep that. But I have considered just kind of trying around with different things. I'm not sure. I don't have quite as much time to dedicate to art as I would like, but who knows? Maybe I will. What's your day job? You sound fairly young, and I believe you said you're not full-time. I am not a full-time author. I wish I could be, but I do not have that option. I do work full-time. I work in healthcare, specifically I work in dental care, and I am quality assurance. So it's a little bit of a demanding job because unfortunately, I'm kind of one of those people that only really gets involved if something goes wrong. So making sure that patients are receiving appropriate care, that they're being treated with respect, that's pretty much what I spend most of my day doing, kind of day in and day out, and making sure that we, hold people accountable if there is an issue, things like that. It is a very kind of emotionally draining job because, again, I really only get involved kind of once things go wrong. But it pays the bills, and I'm lucky enough to enjoy my work. I do like it, even though it is pretty draining. So I'm very lucky in that sense, and it pays the bills, and it pays for books, which are extremely expensive to produce. So no complaints. Enjoy your limited colors. Thank you. I like the limited colors. I sometimes I do wish that I did more with colors, but every time I'm like, wow, this would look really good if I had just kept my normal color scheme. So I don't know. I'm very partial to it. I do like coloring because then I can have Cyril's hair color show, and I'm very fond of his hair color. I really like it. It's my favorite color, so of course I like it. And in general, I like his color palette. I like the gold eyes, I like the tan skin, I like the seafoam hair. I'm very partial to it, so I do like coloring it when I have an excuse to, but I also like my limited palette. And he gets to keep his gold eyes.
I adore his hair color. It's the first thing I noticed. Thank you.
I am very fond of his hair color. I'm very fond of his design in general. I mean, Cyril's like a character that I scientifically engineered in a petri dish to be everything that I liked in a character. So I really like his color palette. I'm very fond of him. He's retained this color palette through years and years of changes, years and years of different kind of iterations, like the priest, etc. So yeah, I'm very fond of it. Very happy. Quote myself again. This guy's here, though. It's too bad Final Fantasy, the graphics overhaul totally changed how it looks. It's a shame. A damn shame, I tell you.
How long did it take for you to write Immolation? The anime has been up for about 3 years. It would be taking about that long to continue with the next book. Your job is busy, so it would be understandable.
So ideally, I would like to get the book out, the second book, out earlier than this one. The reason that the first book kind of took as long as it did is because I waffled over how I was going to tell the story of Immolation kind of after I had done the animatic. Because originally the animatic was just going to be a one-off, the Hellfire animatic. It was just a silly little silly little joke for not joke, but a silly little project for Halloween, something that I could just kind of do without ironically, something that I could do without it being a big commitment, which is hilarious. But because I wasn't sure how I was going to tell the story, there was a lot of kind of decision making and experimentation that had to happen first. A lot of people were asking and kind of expecting that it was going to be a comic, like a webtoon or something. And I briefly considered that, but I did a lot of research into it, and I kind of asked other creatives that I knew, kind of about their journey with, web comics and writing and things like that. And several of them said, don't don't do a web comic if what you really want to do is write a novel. It's not going to be worth it. You're not going to be happy. If you want to write a novel, just write a novel. So that was ultimately what I had decided on doing. I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the novel. And then from that point, I then had to organize the entire story into something that was readable as a novel instead of just the scattered notes that I had everywhere. And I think I made a YouTube post about it. I might have, I'm not sure. But basically what happened is that after I decided, okay, yes, I'm going to do the novel, after I had organized it into something that resembled a book, something that had like a plot structure and story beats and all of those sort of things. Once I had done all of that, I wrote the first draft, quote unquote. I use quotes for that, and you'll see why in a moment, or feel why in a moment. Once I had done that first draft, I kind of read through it, looked at the outline I had created, excuse me, and that first story went all the way from the beginning, which would now be book one, to the very end, which included the events of Hellfire, because again, Hellfire is sort of towards the end, probably about the three-quarter mark. And I read through it, and I just felt like it went way too fast. There was way too much information. You didn't get to spend any time with the characters, getting to know them, so when things would happen, it didn't really have the same weight. So I trashed the, well, I didn't trash it, I still have it, but I scrapped that entire first manuscript, and all of that work probably took me at least a year, kind of going through the motions of how am I going to tell the story? Is it going to be a webtoon? Okay, no, it's going to be a novel. Now I have to write the novel. Okay, now I've written the draft, and that isn't going to work. I need to split the story up into pieces. So I had to start from square one again. I had to start over with a new draft. So all of that together definitely added on to the time that it took. And so I'd like to say that the next book won't take nearly as long. And I do think that I've improved a lot as a writer, which is one of the main reasons that I wanted to write a novel in the first place, is because I've always wanted to write, and I knew that I needed something to start with so that I could start growing as a writer to write better books in the future. And even just in the time that it took for me to write book one, kind of as I was going through, because writing is a very long process. You write the novel, you have your first manuscript, then you make all of your changes, your edits to the manuscript, and then you actually work with an editor, a professional editor, and they go through the manuscript, and then you get it back, and then you go through it again. It's a very, very long process. So by the time that I was making my very final edits, with the editor to the manuscript, and I was going in and I was adding things and tweaking things and rewriting things, I could see a noticeable difference in the quality of my writing from the things that I wrote at the very start of the project to the things that I was adding at the very end. And seeing that was a very fulfilling kind of experience, something I really enjoyed. And because of that, I am inclined to believe that writing the next book will, which is already partly written, it's probably about 25% written already, going through and writing the next book is not going to take me as long because I've improved as a writer and I have more experience and I'm hopefully getting better at it over time. That is the ideal. But I can't exactly say a particular time estimate because, again, I do work a 9 to 5. If I was a full-time writer, I would probably be able to give a hard estimate, but I'm not. I work a pretty demanding 9 to 5 job, one that is pretty emotionally draining, unfortunately. I do enjoy my work, but it is draining, and especially if I'm working, 14, 12-hour shifts, that time and that energy definitely gets eaten up. So I don't think it'll be as long. I don't think it'll be 3 years, but it's hard to say for sure in the situation that I'm in. The silly little Halloween AU, yeah. The art is good. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you like the art. I'm glad you went for the novel. Me too. I'm very happy with my decision. And I do still want to do more animatics. I have probably three or four, three or four animatics, kind of sitting around that desperately want to be worked on. But part of aside from the already mentioned matter of time is a finite resource, and I work a full-time job, and I have a book to write and publish, and publishing itself is a very lengthy process. On top of that, with the animatics, I run into the issue of, because the book is a thing, the book is a thing that exists, and it is technically a commercial product that people can pay for. If I make any animatics, they would technically fall into commercial. And that presents a lot of problems for me, because obviously I can't afford to license music for every single animatic that I do. I did pay to license music for the trailer that I just released, but, that's 30 seconds long. So, if I want to create more animatics to, like, other Hunchback of Notre Dame music, I probably can't. because that is going to be considered a commercial product if I make that. I'm still trying to navigate that. I'm still not sure because I don't want to quit making animatics. I love making animatics. But I do have to be careful because, yeah, it is technically it's a commercial product. I don't know if there's a way I can kind of wiggle around that with, oh, if it's not a direct commercial, if, I don't link to the book in the description of the video or whatever, is that okay? Can I therefore go ahead and do that? Maybe, but I would have to do some research because I don't want to create problems for myself.
For your form, give yourself some rest. You're demanding this man sleep. I'm gonna try. Numerous lore questions.
Let's see here. There's a little heart emoji that goes in front of the chat. Okay, there we go. Is it possible to step down from a position in the church? Yes. Mostly. So, the church that Cyril and our characters live at is relatively unique in that there are certain positions that you don't get to choose. And when I say certain positions, it's literally only one. It's the Archbishop. Normally, the Archbishop is selected by a vote from their peers, from the chapter. That is standard procedure, even for the same religion at other churches in other parts of the world. That is standard procedure. However, the specific church in Windermere has a particular relic that says, just kidding, I'm going to choose the Archbishop and you guys don't have a say in the matter. And they're all like, cool, sounds good, we're fine with that. So, can you step down from a position in the church? Yes, if it's not the Archbishop. The Archbishop does not get to step down from their role, he or she. So Gemma is the Mother Superior currently, and she was elected by her peers. If she decided she wanted to retire, if she decided she didn't want to do that, she wanted to take up a different position, then she would resign and they would elect a new Mother Superior. And that's how that would go. For Cyril, he doesn't have that option. He's going to be Archbishop forever, until he's an old man, until he's an older man. I agree. Please rest. I will do my best. I'm very much someone who's a little bit restless, and I like to constantly have things to work on. But I will do my best. The thing that chooses the Archbishop is like, nah, I picked this one, and where's that meme? It's like everybody just liked that, including Cyril. Cyril didn't like it either. Cyril says this wasn't in my job description when I became a brother. And in case leaves you wondering, yes, you will get more of Cyril's thoughts, and perhaps some of his friends' thoughts, about him being Archbishop in later books. There are some characters that unfortunately did have to be cut from book one because there was already so much going on, but there are definitely other characters who have opinions on him becoming Archbishop, and people who remember how that all happened. So, look forward to that.
Thoughts about the clergy, just including Cyril is like, shit.
Yep. Suddenly realizing you have a new job and you don't get to retire from it ever. It's like, oh, okay, great. Fantastic. A job that you didn't apply for. In Cyril's case, he didn't think there was any possibility that he'd be chosen. Yep, and I know why he thought he wouldn't. Unfortunately for Cyril, he didn't realize that he is the main character, which is probably a good thing. Thank you. It's been a while since I've drawn a horse from memory, so I'm pretty happy that she looks pretty good. She definitely looks like a horse, which is one of the biggest struggles. Might be spoilers, but does Levi have a crush on Bronte? Also, how old is Domingo? Some people call me he's old, and some people call me he's young. So Domingo's, I guess, slightly young for his position. Kind of like Cyril. He's slightly young for, well, Cyril's considered very young for his position, and he was considered very young when he was made Archbishop. Domingo is probably only slightly young, a little bit for his station, but he's a reasonable age. He's about the same age as Cyril. He's probably a little bit older. So Cyril is 45, and Domingo's probably like 47, 48. So not not a huge difference in age between them. But both could be considered younger or older by whoever has that opinion. Does Levi have a crush on Bronte? Levi is probably. Does he have a crush on Bronte? I think Levi is very curious about her. I don't think he knows. By the end of book one, I don't think he knows what he thinks of Bronte. I don't think he know. I don't think he knows yet. So that might be a yes. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm sure you'll get to know more of his opinion in book two. Oh, if you ever wanna, if you want to see one of my classical art education quirks, for lack of a better word, if you want to see one of them manifesting now, it's the change that I just made. So this shine on Idra's hoof lined up a little bit too close with the highlight on the leg that is behind. And that's one of the things that you learn in classical art, where even if shapes line up like that, you always move them so they don't get lost. So that's a little quirk that I retain even now. So he doesn't have a crush yet. Hey, Bronte is a lovely person. Oh wait, there's lines here. Okay, hold on. Let's come up here.
can't wait to see a jealous Cyril if so.
Listen, this man, this man is, if he has one personality trait, it's jealousy. And yes, I keep saying I'm not writing a romance novel, but also I'm very excited to write jealous Cyril at any opportunity I get. So, yeah.
You have the right, you're the author. Bronte has been part of the church as a child, yet she isn't sworn in. Is she allowed outside of Our Lady? Do they plan to just keep her there indefinitely?
That is an excellent question. So you definitely will notice that Bronte isn't a sister, despite she's been in the church and she has been and still is a novice. And the natural progression of someone is going from novice to brother or sister. And Bronte is not following that trajectory. And there might Tap's nose. There might be a little more exploration of why she isn't becoming a sister and what the church plans to do with her in book two.
Bronte's the sweetest. That's why some characters don't like her.
Not everybody is nice, just like the real world. Not everyone is nice. She is supposed to have horseshoes. Do I really feel like drawing her horseshoes? I don't know. I'll think of it. Daedra's got like mean, mean horseshoes. I'm looking for that one. Okay. I don't know about her tail. I'm still deciding on her tail. Hi, Bilbo. Welcome in. Good to see you. How are you today? Thank you for stopping by, Bilbo. Appreciate it. Question: will the book be delivered to other countries like Germany? Well, let me take a look. So it should be available internationally. However, sometimes it takes Amazon a little bit of time to get the international delivery. I know that I have someone from the Netherlands, we have Babel, who was able to purchase. So it is available internationally, but let me see. I believe there's a German marketplace I can check. And this is for the book in general. So there's technically 3 different versions of the book you can get. So there is the paperback, there is the hardcover, and the hardcover that you can find on Amazon is a little bit cheaper because I wanted it to be a budget-friendly option. There's no dust jacket, but it is available in hardcover, and that's off of Amazon. And if you want the fancy hardcover that's a bit more expensive, that comes with a dust jacket, that one, I'm not sure what countries that will be available in just yet, but that one is currently delayed. So once I know, I will post it on social media and let everybody know. Those are going to be for the signed copies. And those are the ones that will go to bookstores. So in theory, you would just need the ISBN for the book, and you take it to, your local bookstore, and you say, hey, I would like to order this book. You can give them the title or the ISBN, and they will tell you if they're able to get it. But in terms of just delivery to Germany, I can just check and see if the paperback is. Let's see here. US, UK, Germany. Yep, so the paperback is available in the German marketplace, so it does show up. So if you're looking to purchase from Germany, then it is available on Amazon. Sometimes Amazon takes a couple of days to get them to all the international markets, but it looks like it is ready to go, and it's there. I'll just be lazy and copy all of the shoes. Oh, I should shade them first. Yeah, I think so. I had you flip to the to the back to see. If you flip all the way to the back of the books, usually there is like a little barcode and a printed label that'll tell you where the book was printed, like at which facility. Like the ones I have are from, let's see, South Carolina, printed in South Carolina, and Babel's is printed in Poland, I believe. So yeah, fun little tidbit you can always check and see where the book was printed. Cynthia, thank you. You're very welcome, Cynthia. I hope you're able to get a hold of it, and I hope you enjoy the read. And if you ever want the ISBNs, you can just message me. You can also find the ISBNs on Amazon. The book will have all of the details there, kind of like underneath the listing. It'll tell you like the publisher, it'll tell you the date it was released, so on. And you can always find the ISBN from that if you would like to take that to like a local bookstore. Are golden eyes a mark of long service in the church? I know Cyril and at least one other character has them. So gold eyes are a symbol, not necessarily of long service, but they are a symbol of typically what people will summarize as faith. So the amount of faith that you have, the amount of belief that you have, if you're a member of the church, it doesn't impact things like a civilian that is extremely pious is not going to have gold eyes. Gold eyes come from being a part of the church and within its magic system. And kind of once you have to be a vowed member of the clergy. So like a novice, like Bronte, she won't get gold eyes because she hasn't taken her vows. She's not a full quote-unquote member of the church. But if you're a full member of the church, you've signed the document, you are officially part of it, and you've entered into their system, then yes, if you have enough faith, then your eyes will start to show symptoms of having gold in them. And the more gold you have, typically, the more faith you have. At least that is how people interpret it and perceive it. And I'm sure people who have less than stellar opinions of the church, maybe someone like Domingo, I'm sure he would find a different reasoning for why their eyes turn gold. Doesn't mean if their faith wanes, it loses its gold. It's a very good question. I guess you're just going to have to read to find out. I think, I don't know if I posted the full bio on public social media. I know I have a post in my Patreon. It's a rather old post by now, but I know I have a post from some time ago talking about Brother Benjamin, who wears glasses. He wears some red tinted glasses. And there are some people who, for reasons that they choose to believe, I'm not saying it's true, I'm not saying it's false, some people believe that Benjamin wears the red tinted glasses so that people can't see his eyes as easily, because he's one of probably the only clergy who doesn't have any gold in his eyes whatsoever. Like not even little speckles of it. Like even Maddox has little dots of gold in his eyes. And Benjamin has absolutely none. And a lot of people judge him for that. So people think that he wears his glasses to kind of cover up the fact that he doesn't have any gold in his eyes at all. If you ask Benjamin, he'll just say that's ridiculous, and he'll say that he wears glasses to protect his eyes because he had surgery on them when he was younger to help with some impaired vision, and so now he wears glasses. It's up to you who you believe. Is Benjamin young for his office too? Benjamin, I don't think he's younger, but he's still relatively kind of new into his station. So he does have a fair bit of, not necessarily power. It's not quite the excuse me. It's not quite the right word. He does have a fair bit of influence and, a reasonably high-ranking role, because again, he is a bishop after all. But he's not like Serge, who has like complete control over the entire infirmary and all of that. Benjamin is just someone who has a lot of credentials because he's gone through a lot of schooling. So he's like your average college graduate. Benjamin's like your average college graduate, like kind of fresh out. Well, he's a little bit older than that, but comes with all of his credentials, has a lot of education, has like a natural kind of knack for magic, and a fair bit of experience. By the time you meet him, a fair bit of experience using it. He's only in his probably 30s. He's probably early 30s, maybe 33, 34 or so. So he's not super young, but he's not as like anywhere near Serge's age. Serge is probably in his 60s, I think. I'm trying to think of. I don't have their age. Their ages in front of me. I'm going off memory.
Can't wait to actually see his eyes. It'll be very exciting when we do see them. I believe my boy Ben because he'd never do anything wrong.
This is Benjamin. He's done nothing wrong in his life ever. We love and appreciate Benjamin in this household. The way you said it makes me nervous. It'll be fine. Everything will be fine. Honestly, I don't think anyone can be friends with Cyril without being a little messed up. That's probably the single most accurate statement about Cyril I've ever heard in my life. If someone is friends with Cyril, you should probably assume that they're not maybe the best person. I don't know. I hate to say that about my boy Benjamin, but maybe you should question his. Maybe you should question who he's friends with. I don't know. We could say that as we have the luxury of outside knowledge that Benjamin does not have. Benjamin is probably one of the more complex characters in terms of like his moral ambiguity. I enjoy that about him. He retained that from his pirate canon storyline, which if you have never heard me mention that, that's probably really off-putting, I realize. But as I said, Cyril has lots of different storylines, and I've had him as a character for so long and in so many different iterations. So the pirate storyline is one of those, and Benjamin was also present in that storyline as well. And I can change him. Cover Ben's ears out there. It's a happy book, of course. The fellow clergy he's friends with aware of his inclinations. He seems to be friendly and kind to them, but at least Benjamin is aware of his less polite side. Cyril had a reputation for being not nice. Cyril, you'll find out more about him in book two and kind of what others think of him, but in general, Cyril had a reputation for not being the nicest guy before he became Archbishop. So people generally are very well aware of the fact that he's kind of a schmuck. They might not understand the extent to which he's a schmuck, but they kind of know deep down. But the idea is that the relic that chooses the Archbishop also instills certain features into that person. So rather than being worried about who Cyril is, or perhaps who he used to be, they are choosing instead to place complete faith in the relic that chose Cyril and believe that it will moderate how he acts and how he behaves and make him a good archbishop. That is kind of how they approach it and what they believe. And to a point, you could say that that's true because Cyril has definitely done some growing, maybe some emotional maturing since he became archbishop because he had no choice. He had to do that because now it's his job, it's his station. But yeah, the grace that people give Cyril is mostly to do with the fact that he's archbishop and the relic chose him. They don't really have a choice. But I'd say people would probably still be surprised to find out some of the stuff that he gets up to. Especially because he's doing this like now that he's archbishop, when people kind of think, oh, he's turned over a new leaf, and no, actually not. He's actually still horrible. He's still a terrible human being. Okay, so that horseshoe is totally not the right shape. Okay, I do have to genuinely redraw this one. Like, I don't know, do you want to argue? Nobody wants to question the relic. They would go against what they believe, so it's much easier to just kind of close your eyes and believe that the relic is going to sort everything out. There are two very unholy instances involving a whipped penance. Yeah, correct. And even though it's, again, I cut so much material out of book one because I had to streamline it, and the book is still quite long, even as is. I probably could have cut more, but again, I'm still learning as a writer, so hopefully I'll get better with time. But basically there are moments that had to be cut out because we just do not have time for every single interaction to be kind of on screen, quote unquote. And so there's definitely a comment from Domingo insinuating that he is aware of some of Cyril's more unholy tendencies. The actual interaction where Domingo, quote unquote, learns that information did not stay in the manuscript, but the comment is still there. So, Domingo knows, at least to an extent. And Domingo also doesn't have any belief in the relic, so. I love the long books. Well, we see these cut moments later. I also love long books. In terms of the cut content, a lot of it, I would say probably a good like 60 to 75% ish, which I know isn't a very solid number, but a good amount of the content is going to still be used. It'll just be kind of recontextualized and used in later books. I'm not sure if it's going to necessarily be in like book two, but it's definitely going to be there because it is still a part of the story, and there are specific scenes that didn't work for book one, but I still definitely want to include. So there is going to be a lot of that content that makes it into the story as a whole. There are some pieces of cut content that probably won't be able to be included just for whatever reason. They no longer work. The story's kind of moved past those. And for those, I might release them. Excuse me. I might clean them up and release them on Patreon. I might, for example, I have ones that I'm cleaning up to add to my kind of what's the word? My words are failing me. I have one that I'm cleaning up to add to my website, which is going to be like if you sign up for the newsletter, not newsletter, it's not a newsletter. If you sign up for the mailing list, then you get to read this kind of excerpt that I've cleaned up. So one of them is going to go there, and then the rest are going to, in some way, shape, or form, be recontextualized to be used later. In terms of specifically kind of Domingo and those interactions, book two is going to be spent a lot more on, first of all, the vampires. You're going to get to know a lot more about them, and you're also going to get to know a lot more about Domingo's opinions and kind of how he's gathering the information that he is. Those are kind of two of the big focuses of book two, because book one was about introducing you to kind of the world of Immolations, which is really just kind of this insular city and kind of the countryside that it's in. Getting to know the church, because there's a lot of lore about the church, obviously. Getting to know Cyril and kind of setting your expectations with him, and getting to know Bronte and her situation. That was kind of book one is all about introducing you to this in a way that hopefully doesn't completely overwhelm you with information, but still leaves you with questions. That was kind of the goal of book one. Book two is going to be, again, about the vampires, kind of about more of Domingo's thoughts. There's going to be more about the magic system, which has been vaguely explained in book one. Not really explained. You, vaguely exposed to it in book one. But book two is going to, dive much more into why Domingo is so adamant that vampires don't exist, when obviously vampires are everywhere. He's going to talk a lot more about why he's so suspicious of the church, the fact that he definitely can't deny that Cyril is on some powerful juice, whatever it is he's drinking. I'll have one of those. There's a whole lot of questions there that are going to kind of get whatever. You're gonna get lots of questions and lots of answers in book two about that sort of stuff. What would happen if Cyril's activities were discovered? The church can't exactly remove him from office. That I can't say anything on that because you're gonna learn more about how that would be handled in book two. And I will say no more, because if I say any more, that's going to get into spoiler territory. think I'm finally satisfied with that. Vampire blood is supposed to be highly addictive. Can someone partake of it, smell, taste, etc., without getting addicted? So addiction is just like in the real world. Some people are more predisposed to it than others. It is very possible that someone has a very small amount of exposure to it, whether they smell or taste it or whatever it might be. And as long as they keep their distance and, you know, don't partake of it again in like very quick succession, they'll probably be fine. However, some people, again, are more predisposed to it than others, and if there is a very small amount of exposure over time, that's definitely going to lead to a problem. It's definitely kind of like like anything else. If you have a little bit of it over and over and over a long period of time, that's definitely going to lead to a problem. But people will respond differently. Some people have, a little bit of it and are immediately hooked, and some people have a little bit of it and they're fine. They'll still crave it. It's like any addiction. They'll still crave it, but it won't necessarily disrupt their lives to an extreme degree the way that it might for someone who has a very strong addiction. Okay, she has all of her little shoes. Well, they're not little. They're huge. They're like dinner plate sized, but they're little. I'm gonna call them little. She's too late. Alright, oh my goodness, it's already 1:15. Okay. Let's see. This took longer for me to get to this point than I expected. I'm asking because I've read the book and trying to figure out who is entirely addicted or who is just being obsessive. Or both. Could be both. It definitely could be both. Let's. vacuum is proper size. About that big. Uh, Adra is basically her withers, so the withers on a horse. Brush here. The withers on a horse are at this point, their shoulders. Cyril's a little bit taller than her, so that's accurate. Like all the artwork. Alba, hello, welcome in. Where can I buy the book? Let's see. So it is available wherever books are sold, but what I can do, I can get you a link. Let's see here. Is it not going to let me send messages in my own chat because I don't subscribe to myself? Is that what it's doing? Come on now. No, here we go. Alright. There we go. There is a link to my books to read. So if you click that, it'll show you all the different formats it's available in: ebook, paperback, hardcover, and it'll show you where each of those markets are. So you can buy from Amazon, you can go through Kobo, etc., etc. You can also, if you have a local bookstore, you can go to your local bookstore and ask them to get it for you. Anywhere you'd like. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your interest. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the read. Now that I have my extremely accurate art of Cyril. Alright, hold on. Let me... Oops, I accidentally locked my phone, and I need that because that's how I do my chat. All right. I have a random picker wheel from a random website that I found on the internet. And let's see here. As a disclaimer, again, the signed copies are delayed because, unfortunately, the printer just won't get them to me. However, I did promise a signed copy giveaway, so I'm going to go ahead and get that started here. Let me just sort out this little horse. Yes, it's a horse. Hello, Toasty. My horse and a very more accurate drawing of Cyril. Oh my goodness. Alright, let's see here. Hopefully this little picker wheel works. Let's see, is there a timer? Oh my goodness, every single time I do this, there's this website called TimeRef, and it's like a medieval and Middle Ages. I use it a lot for like historical reference in terms of like abbeys and monasteries. It's a wonderful writing resource. However, every time I go to the search bar and try to type in timer to pull up a timer, it pulls up TimeRef and takes me back to the website. Oh my goodness. Alright. Cyril's friends found out about his activities, not the violent ones, but the no ones he does in private. Hmm. It depends on. It would depend on which friend found out. Um, yeah, it would depend on which friend, whether they would be surprised, whether they would politely look away, whether they would choose not to say anything, or whether they would say something to him, you know, thinking maybe he should go pray about that. But yeah, if it's a friend who found out, it would depend on who. If it was an enemy that found out, that would go very differently. It's the naughty ones Matic would give it two thumbs up. Yeah, pretty much. Matic would be like, cool, whatever you want, dude. That's 100% what Maddox's response would be. Maddox would probably make some snarky comment about like, oh, okay, even though you're an old man, you still got it. All right, cool, good to know. That's the sort of thing Maddox would say. I'm trying to pull up a timer so you guys can see it, but oh my goodness. Let's see. Streaming on YouTube is so strange. I'll get used to it one day. I don't know if I'm going to do more streams after this. Again, kind of as I mentioned with work, when I'm trying to work on writing, which is not a very streamable activity, and animatics are not interesting to watch because it's drawing the same thing over and over again. Neither of those activities lend themselves very well to streams. I enjoy streamings. I enjoy chatting with you guys. I enjoy kind of the question and answer. It's super fun. I really enjoy it. I have no idea if I'm going to have time for it. So if I do, it'll probably be here on YouTube, though. Imagine Benjamin would raise an eyebrow and look away. That seems accurate. Sirs would, Sirs would die on the spot of disgust. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Hugo, if I wasn't afraid, Sybil. That's a good question. What Sybil of Florence would do? That's a good question. I think, yeah, I think Sybil generally has a pretty high opinion of Cyril. She doesn't necessarily agree with him. I think, man, I'm trying to think, is that something that was cut from book one? I'm trying to remember if it's something that I mentioned or not. I think it was. I think it was cut. But there was a comment in conversation with a couple of different characters where, if you've read kind of the first chapter, you know that Sybil tries to be kind of reasonable, and I'm trying to say this without spoilers, even though it's only chapter one, but still, there is a moment where Sybil tries to be maybe a little bit giving and a little bit reasonable, kind of trying to be a little bit more diplomatic, and that's not something that Cyril would do at all. Cyril shoots first, asks questions later. Cyril, especially with vampires, he's like absolutely no room for negotiation. But no, 100%. So there was a comment that was made. Cyril made a comment that he finds Sybil to be a little bit too giving at times, and I believe that conversation was cut, but that is Cyril's opinion, is that he largely approves of Sybil, but he does find her to be a little bit giving, and he worries about that. And Sybil, in turn, really respects Cyril as a leader and both as a hunter, and she confides in him quite a lot because a lot of the hunters in general find it easier to, like when they're giving confessions or things like that, they find it a lot easier to talk to someone who is also a hunter rather than talking to a cleric, because clerics just don't have the same kind of experience with dealing with vampires that other hunters do. So in that way, she definitely respects Cyril and appreciates that she can talk to him, but she definitely finds him to be a little bit aggressive. I think that is definitely an opinion that she has. So I don't know. Her opinion would be torn. She would be probably very surprised because she thinks better of him. Um, Florence is a little more rough and tumble than Sybil. Florence has a different upbringing than Sybil, so she's a little bit more worldly, for lack of a better term. And I don't think I go into detail on kind of their respective upbringings in book one. I don't think I think that was, again, more material that was cut. But Sybil is kind of like Benjamin. She had like a very formal upbringing. She went to a good school, etc., etc. And then Florence was very rough and tumble. Was an underground, fist fighter, was recruited by Cyril kind of later in life versus, kind of growing up into the church, etc. So she's a little bit more worldly, so she wouldn't be as shocked by it at all. She would, I don't know if disappointed is the right word, because I don't think she would care too much. She would be more worried about it in the sense of, Cyril, you're the archbishop, you're gonna get yourself into trouble if you do stuff like that. That's more kind of what her thought process would be. She wouldn't have too much of an opinion on the fact that it was him doing naughty things. Here we go. I'm going to I'll move the extremely cursed Cyril over here. This is all of her. Okay, yeah, I can hide the sketch layer. Okay. Oh my gosh, there's a hair on my arm, and I can't see it, but I can feel it. Get it off. Alright. Now, I don't think there's a poll option in this. Okay, hold on, let's see. What does YouTube let me do? What exactly is the religion of Our Lady? Do they regard the church itself as their god, or is there a different god? So they have an interesting opinion, even in the larger world that they exist within, which has its own concept of gods and deities and so on. They have a somewhat unique opinion. So it's, their church is officially, quote unquote, called the Church of Sorrows. That is like the all-encompassing name of the church versus Our Beloved Lady, which is that specific cathedral. And technically her full name, quote unquote, is Our Beloved Lady of the Sacred Heart because that's the relic that she has. But nobody's going to call her that in idle conversation, so I don't bother. So they don't regard the church itself as their god or anything of that nature. They don't even regard the relic as their god. The relic is basically a thing. It's a thing that their god gave to them and gave to that specific church. And they are the caretakers of that relic. It's their responsibility to maintain that relic and to care for it and to, pass it from person to person. Their god is not. This gets into like the lore of the wider world, and I'm trying to figure out how to. Too long, didn't read this. Because you'll get a little bit more of kind of the magic system and the gods of the world and why the church is kind of unique in book 2. But basically, their god is kind of like, I guess, what we in our modern day might consider a quote unquote god to be. It is like a force, a being that is not of the same existence as like our mortal world. Like that's their idea of it. So rather than there being some physical manifestation of the god somewhere, their god is like a cosmic being or cosmic force that is out there, and they have little manifestations of it in the form of relics. That's kind of how they view their god. So the deity that they worship is called the Mother of Sorrows, and she doesn't really have any particular form that she takes. So all of the statues of saints and icons and the relics, etc., none of those are a impression or interpretation of what their god looks like. It's just pieces. Because their god, as far as they know, is considered to be like this unknowable thing that is kind of like beyond comprehension. That's kind of how they view their deity. Okay, hold on, the stream's gonna look a little weird for a second. Let me see if this works. Does that work? Do you see the timer? It's just a YouTube video. This is what I'm gonna use. Oops, that's not what I want. You can see it? Alright, perfect. Trying to get my chat back on my phone. Okay, here we go. Alright. It is time to do the signed copy giveaway. So, pull So you have 1 minute. Once the timer starts, you'll have 1 minute, and all you need to do is put a, let's say, a 1 in the chat. I'll do that instead. I was going to do fire emojis, but I think YouTube will get mad if you put emojis in the chat, so I'm not going to risk that. You'll just put the number 1, and you will have 1 minute to do so. Go. And while you have that minute to put the number 1 in the chat, I will answer Tink's question. Let me see. Relic is unique to Our Lady, and other branches of the same religion don't have it. Does that mean the other branches defer to them? The Pope. Does it mean they defer to... So not quite. The church is definitely unique, and people would make like a pilgrim. People do make a pilgrimage to Our Beloved Lady because she has the relic there. But the church doesn't get any particular power or influence outside of their province, which they're in the city of Windermere, but there's a larger province that they're in. The cathedral is the seat of power for that entire province. You have 3 seconds. Alright, time is up. Alright, hold on. Let me get your names all entered in. Oops, there we go. Alright, I'm gonna swap it back to... I keep forgetting the stickman is there. I'm gonna stop this while I put it all in the wheel. So the cathedral is the seat of power for that particular province, and they have kind of jurisdiction over that specific province, but they don't have any influence like beyond that. And the reason that they have the relic at that cathedral and they have the power that they do is because that specific province has a vampire problem. So that's why the cathedral is there, and that's why they have as much power as they do. But, you know, outside of the world, vampires, outside of that area of the world, vampires are not a problem. So there's no reason to defer to the church. People would just make a pilgrimage there to view that relic the same way that someone would make a pilgrimage to view a particular saint's relic somewhere else. It's just very hyper local and unique to that area. Let me put in each of your names. Alright. I keep pulling this one hair, but I can't find it. Oh, goodness. Alright, speak now or forever hold your peace. My very fancy picker wheel. I'm sorry, I cracked my neck again. I have no idea if you guys can hear that. Alright. Okay, I'm broke. Well, I appreciate your reading in however format, and this again is for a free signed copy, so you have the rare opportunity to make me front the shipping for you. I felt that in my neck. I'm sorry. To speak now or forever hold your peace. This is your chance at a free copy. Going once, going twice. As I try not to crack my neck, because now I feel like I have a kink in it. Is it a free copy? I want one, but I'll be getting hardcover and harassing you. You want a chance, Masu? I'll add you in. I know there's latency on the stream, so I'm trying to give you a chance, but speak now or forever hold your peace. I will. It's 1:43 for me, and I'll spin the wheel at 1:45. I think that's reasonable. You have 2 minutes. Ting, you'd like to join, of course. Don't worry, I know there's some latency on the stream. This is my way of saying thank you for the patience and support, because seriously, 3 years since the animatic to now, I am nothing but grateful. So I have 1 minute remaining. Me too. Can I do it? You got in with 15 seconds left. I will add you. Did I spell your name right? There we go. Alright, time is up. These are all the names. Thank you so much. I'll definitely have them available for sale once I get them in. Again, I want to quality control check them first, because I'm not going to send out a book unless I can actually physically hold it in my hands and verify it's good quality before I send it out. So, all right, watch the video on loop. It was so good. Thank you so much. I'm so really happy with that animatic. Hopefully, I'll get to do more in the future. All right, it's time. Everybody, cross your fingers. Morgan, you win. All right, let me swap over here and let me check. Let's see here. Congratulations, Morgan. I'll reach out to you and I'll see if I can get you some contact information from you. Give me just a moment. I thought I'd be able to whisper people on this. Oh my goodness, silly me. But yes, thank you so much again for support. I guess again, taking 3 years was not something that I planned to do. So I really appreciate the patience, and I'm very excited to finally release this book. And I'm really happy with the story, and I really hope you guys enjoy it as much as I am. All right, Morgan, if you let's see here. I'm gonna see if I can send you a link. Oh, come on. Why won't my chat let me send my own link? Oh, it's because I'm using a link shortener. Okay, that's fine. I'll send the full ugly link. All right, I put a link in the chat, Morgan. If you're able to just fill that out and just give me a quick way to comment to contact you, I'll get you started with that free copy. Thank you again, everyone, for entering and for coming to the stream. And I'm super excited to finally be able to launch this book and to debut as a writer, which is just crazy to me. It's totally insane. I'm still blown away by the whole thing, and I'm very grateful for all your support and especially your patience as I've been going through and working on this project. I'm very excited to finally, I say finally be done with it, but it's not done. It's the first portion, and I'm really excited to continue working on it. So thank you guys very, very much. I'm going to wrap it up. I have not eaten breakfast, and it's almost 2 o'clock, so I'm going to get some breakfast and some lunch, probably a good cup of coffee. And again, thank you very, very much for everything and for all your support. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. I did the thing. I'm going to go eat, I promise. And I'm gonna go eat, and I'm gonna try really, really hard not to take a nap after not sleeping for 3 days. Um, hopefully, hopefully I'll just crash tonight, and I'll just sleep nice and peacefully all the way through, and it'll be beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being here and for celebrating with me. I'm I'm super excited, and I'm glad you guys could make it. And maybe more art streams if I have the time, because again, I do enjoy just kind of getting to chat with people. Because writing a book is is lonely work. I've been living in a vacuum for like 3 years trying to get this done, so it's nice to actually finally be able to yell about it and be excited about it with people. So thank you very much. All right, Morgan, I have your contact info, so you are all good to go. Again, thank you so much, everyone. I could say thank you to the end of time, but
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go get something to eat. I'm gonna go relax. I hope you guys have an absolutely phenomenal weekend. If you have the book on the way, please let me know when it arrives. Please let me know when you read. I would love to hear your thoughts. And have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and a great week next week. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it.